Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. Notice is hereby given of a regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the District to be held at 105 Port Road, Port Isabel, Texas, on the 24th day of October 2018, at the hour of 5:30 p.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the District on October 18, 2018, at 3:30 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551-041-551-050, not less than 72 hours prior to the time of the said meeting. We do have the presence of a quorum. We have the entire full board present at this time. Item number 2, invitation and pledge for the allegiance. Pledge of the allegiance, excuse me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, please bless us this day and let us have a good meeting. And thank you for this cooler weather we've been enjoying. And just allow us to continue to learn from your knowledge. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Item 3, invitation to the audience for public comments. Anyone like to make a comment at this time? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. First of all, I just want to thank you.
Just state for the record. Yes, thank you.
Distribution manager. First of all, let me just thank you for everything that you guys have done, approving the budget, the insurance, and whatnot. Today, I think you have on the agenda, item number 10, number 11, something for the guys that have been there 13 years, the guys that work at night. I would like for you to seriously consider that, to approve that. The guys that have been here with 13 years, they're dedicated. They're hardworking. They prove their loyalty. Guys that work at night, they're by themselves. Safety factors. Believe it or not, we had people walking into the water plants at night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So there is a safety factor in it. If they're going to present something to you guys, I really hope you guys consider it and take account for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, board, audience, this time anyone like to conclude? Thank you. Moving to item number 4, consider and discuss for possible approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on October 10th, 2018. Everyone had a chance to read them. Questions, comments?
I'll move to approve.
Motion for approval by Mr. Avalos.
Second.
Seconded by D. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are? No.
I'll abstain, wasn't here.
For the record, Mr. R. Wells abstains. All are in favor. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving to item number 5, General Manager's Report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We do have a shrimp cook-off November the 3rd, and we'll have a booth out there representing the district, passing out some good information on conservation. We're trying to be transparent and at least so they can meet part of the employees that are going to be there. Just wanted to bring it up if y'all want to go by there and check it out. You're welcome.
Any shrimp?
We'll have something for us, yes. We're not gonna sell anything, it's just for us, the employees that are gonna be there attending.
I believe it's okay to make this comment during your presentation that we've discussed in the past that it would be good to show our wares, provide our samples. So I would think this would be a good opportunity for us to consider having samples of our product available at the booth.
I don't see why not.
Okay, can't say.
No, it would be just a regular 5-gallon jug.
Okay.
Water hose?
Yeah.
Give us some comments on it at least, yeah, we can do it, certainly can.
I think first weekend in November, I think first weekend in November.
Okay, and on the next one that I have here is drought management. We, the last meeting, we considered in going back to phase 1, no restrictions on the conservation measures that we have. And we did the second day after that when they sent me the new level, combined levels of Amistad and Falcon Lakes. It was up about 55%. So in saying that, today it's 57% and still going up. And I believe there's going to be a lot of rain the next few 3-4 days in the same area. So we expect that level to go close to 75% in a couple of weeks. It takes a few weeks for it to go in the whole area.
In our last meeting, we suggested that you hold off lifting the drought
Well,
restriction
suggestion
until you
was,
got that report.
right,
And that's
Correct.
what you're giving to us now.
that's correct.
And so we're at hard numbers about 55% up from 51.34
Yes, correct,
2 weeks ago.
yes. So
So
we're up, right now, today, I received that information, it's 57%, 57.00.
I just talked to a guy in Del Rio, and they've got 3 years worth of rain at Amistad in 2 weeks.
Yep, yeah, so it's gonna go higher, in the next couple of weeks,
Shut down their
so
operations.
it'll be good for us.
so you're going to lift the,
We did already,
Thank
yes, sir. It's in the website, and I think it'll be in the paper. It was in the paper. But anyhow, yes, we lifted it. And then I did bring a report that Mr. Houston requested on the billing and consumption for 2017, 2018. I did include a report for 2016 and 17. We can make the comparison in there. The reason being that, let's see here real quick, that last year, well, this year, 2018, our water consumption went up 1.4 million gallons higher than last year. And our water consumption is less. So we're losing some water in there somehow, and I know that we did have major water leaks, and that kind of is included in there, the minus 18 million that we lost.
so your P and L for your product and your revenue, or your revenue expense is down 18%.
Well, it's actually not 18%, but 18 million gallons of water.
I'm just looking at the
So-
report here and just,
Right, so it's a loss. I just wanted to bring that out because the new meters that we're installing may have contributed to that also. And so y'all can see just the difference. And we'll keep that record for the following year and compare it again, see what the losses are. Maybe we'll make up some money,
Not
replacing
maybe.
the meters.
not
So-
maybe. Not maybe, because.
No, not maybe. We
Because
will.
you
I'm very
referenced the
positive.
meters, and the meters were sold to make the difference. You're saying we could have a loss of revenue because of a faulty metering system.
Correct.
And with the new metering system, it
Should
should be a lot more accurate for actually billing
Right,
for products sold.
correct.
So that's what we were sold on and
And I-
anticipate.
And I want to see we just have to wait a whole year. By the time we get maybe starting December, January, we can get a comparison already, start getting
Once the
something.
meters are in, you have monthly comparables
Yes,
that you can go back, month
a
to
year,
date.
2 years back.
You can do
Okay.
comparables there, and so you should be able to take and be able to report a lot quicker than that before waiting for a full year.
Right, we can start, yes,
Thank you.
monthly comparisons.
Didn't we see something at the last meeting, but our water revenues were only down like 1.7%?
Well, that was a comparison that we had, you
Yes.
recall that one, maybe? But it's, at the end of September, we didn't have that one in there. September wasn't included, so we included September and
Overall, our revenues were down
Can
5.7%.
you give me just about the water revenues?
Water revenue was down 7%.
It's down 7.
Yes.
But you gotta look at an extremely wet year. There are many variables in there too. You had a very wet year that, you didn't have comparison past your
Well,
drought.
went a few months,
But
the last half of this year.
so, that's all I have, just wanted to bring the board up to date on revenues and treated water comparison.
Thank you.
moving forward to 6, Robert?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, submitted a copy of the monthly report, which includes the service calls and call-outs for the month of September. On the distribution side, we had 203 calls, and they're broken down into the various areas as far as the call-outs were concerned. And the collection, we had a total of 44 service calls and call-outs. And again, we listed those as well. I think Mr. Doyle Wells was asking about why we record the maintenance on the preventive maintenance. And part of that, the reason for doing that is that we keep track of all that work that we do in case TCEQ comes back and they want to know what it is we're doing. We have documentation to show them what we're doing, and it has happened in the past. Any questions?
On the pole meters, what's the reason for the pole meters?
A lot of them that they're faulty meters and they get replaced. And
Okay, so we're replacing them.
yes, on some of them, yes.
Anything else, Robert?
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
When will we be able to do a comparison year to year? I
I
mean,
can
this
do
is
that.
this is for October of 18.
Yes, sir.
When did you start this type of recording?
This I started around January, February this year.
So February of next year, we can, if you want, we can compare February of 19 to February of 18, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Moving to item 7, District Engineers Report. Charlie?
Right, the first item is just an update on Water Plant 1 clear well restoration. And we did look at options, to consider a fiberglass tank or basically alternatives to restoring the concrete. But we really didn't see a viable option, or you'd have to be looking at multiple tanks, or it's really not getting into a more cost-effective direction, trying to replace that concrete tank based on its diameter and size and whatnot with fiberglass.
You're referring to the email you gave us a copy of.
Right, correct.
Does DN Tanks manufacture or sell fiberglass tanks?
No, it'd be they're a concrete manufacturer.
Then why are we taking
Well,
the report from somebody that's not in the business of it?
we call it fiberglass, because with
Did you call
fiberglass.
Red Ewald?
Who?
Red Ewald,
Red Ewald.
Kennedy, Texas.
No, I didn't.
One of the biggest fiberglass tank makers anywhere. Have you ever driven up 123 and 72 towards
yeah.
San Antonio?
I know exactly where Kennedy's at.
Okay, they're right there on the side of the road,
Okay.
north side, giant tanks. I bring that up because you're showing us a report from somebody that doesn't even deal with fiberglass tanks. So I'll be happy to tell you how it'd be not a good idea for you to take and buy a motorcycle when I have horses,
Right.
okay?
Mhm.
So it not as much sense to me.
All right, now I understand. So yeah, I'll follow up with Red Wall and get some exact specs on what their limitations are for the
Thank you.
fiberglass one.
Motorcycles have horsepower, though. Just kidding, dog.
With only 2 legs,
All right. I guess,
I struggle for analogies.
I took the liberty of calling this gentleman, Ryan.
uh-huh.
I talked to him for a little while, and I think he explained to me why the concrete is better. And I understand your point, in looking into.
Red Ewald will explain to you why fiberglass is better.
No, and I have looked into some steel tanks, a company out of Kansas. They were supposed to send me some literature on that. It's kind of it's steel, so it might not be the best thing for our area. But in talking with him, and I explained to him some of the things we're considering for that project, he was not aware of the possibility that we could be installing a desal at that location. Makes a big difference in the type of tank we have, might not even be suitable for the amount of volume of water that we would be generating. That was his opinion. So I think we need to do a little bit more research into this, especially if we're considering, a desal or a microfiltration or anything of that sort. Now, in all fairness, that is years away if we go that route. And this might be a temporary solution in the interim for the amount of money that we're going to be spending on it. Now, I did talk to him about, I'm concerned that even if we do agree with the concrete, that we need to consider a different top for it. I suggested, why don't we build a dome instead of a flat roof? And he said, that's a very good point. So he's going to look into that. He'll be calling you in regards to that, because he said that's going to be, that is critical. He said it might eliminate some of the posts that we have to put in there. But anyway, he's going to be calling you to follow up with, because he was not aware of some of the other things we're considering, which might make a difference in the size tank we put in there.
Well, yeah, well, I'm at the point to where I'm kind of working with him on details to prepare the bid package, but we got to make sure we're putting it in the direction that the board wants it to go, so.
I think, what our objective was, going back to the conversation before, was that we were concerned about taking and putting more money into a really old piece of infrastructure. And that's why we were saying, wait a minute, let's step back and see what other alternatives are. I do not say we got to definitely put in a fiberglass tank. I'm saying we need to know what the alternatives are.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's what I'm looking for, whether it's steel, stainless steel, whatever.
And we did talk a
Or
little
two
bit-
tanks. I know we're limited on area and space, but
And the fact that it's gravity fed and things like that. So I think the idea is that we need to get a better idea of what it is we are considering, because it will affect the size, number one, of the tank we put in there, and quite possibly the type of tank we put in there. If size does not permit, then we might have to go, and I brought up the same question to him, it's like, do you feel comfortable, patching up a 50-year-old tank, or whatever the cost is? I said, considering that we're gonna make a huge investment in that area in the future. He said, no, it doesn't make sense. So we need to really look at it, and we need to be on board as to what we really want to do with it.
can we just leave it to, can't we just leave it with the engineer to please give us all the alternatives available to accomplish the need that we have?
Yes, and in saying that, the point is that those alternatives are gonna play a big factor in what we decide to do in that area.
Okay.
yeah, because we did, looking at the 2 MGD RO type facility, that 50,000 gallon clear was adequate, because at that stage, the salt's already removed, so that wouldn't have any impact on, tearing up the
He
walls.
mentioned something about the type of chemicals that are gonna go in there to try to, I think, stabilize or something.
Yeah, at that
And
point,
he
you should
said,
already have
and that
caustic.
That might affect the type of tank we use.
Yeah, but I mean, in general, we looked at epoxy lining coating, which was a Southern Trenchless quote, and that was at the 128,000 range. And then we have this option of the concrete rehab, and that's at, the $60,000, $70,000 range. So those are really the 2 options that we've looked at up to this point. But I mean, if we want to look at the roof to improve so we don't have, drainage problems and that side of thing, we can, take a look at
That's just a
that.
lot more expensive. It's not going to be a new tank. I don't know if we want to do that. But again, just bring us the information.
All options.
Yeah, and then also, if there's a way to put bid alternates out there, that's what we can have good pricing with, different ways to go forward with it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
So yeah, the second item is talking about our district boundary, which I have in that, I don't know if you want to untape it, but that's a full-size version of our boundary. And for whatever reason, we've had a map floating around that didn't have the correct boundaries. And so, recently, since we went and looked up like Stripes and Cibola, for example, we did complete annexation around, the last round of, I know we picked up, it wasn't coded correctly as a residence room. And so we got that straightened out. And so this is basically reflecting our boundary, for taxing purposes.
This is available digital,
Yeah.
so it can be put online, or is it a great big file, or is that something?
Here it is.
Yeah, well, yeah, it can,
No,
well,
digital, so I can open it up on a computer and zoom
right.
in.
Well, right now, if you notice, all the signature blocks are blank. So if everybody's happy to sign it, we can scan it and it'll be available.
You can scan that?
Yeah, we have a full-size scanner here in the office.
Okay, so then it'll be enough of a file that has high enough resolution that it can actually be zoomed in and looked at.
Yep.
But at the same time, not so large that you can't.
Yeah, we can get the file
Sure.
size to where you can work with it and keep the.
Full-time mill or something like that.
So do we need to sign?
Well, I have the full size here. If everybody wants to sign that one, then we'll have, and then I'll submit the revised copy of TCQ. They can have the correct boundary on file.
Not browser.
And, we're on the right page again.
Yeah. I don't think it's I don't think it's browser, it's BOW.
You have browser total area. I think
Oh,
it's
it's
browser.
spade. Okay, we can
It's
correct
like
this
track
one.
26 or something like that.
Okay. Let me,
Lewis Bowser.
Bowser. We'll
Was
bring it
he-
back tomorrow, Charles. We can bring it.
Yeah, we can correct it. That's
Was
right.
the Atudia track the last one?
Yeah, that's Duria and Cibola. They were, because it was all done in that same 2011 issuance. That's when, that's the backup that has all the annexations, which are basically done at the same time. And just a couple of spots to point out. Our north boundary on the mainland does end at Laguna Vista Club. Holly Beach is not in our district. And then on Buena Vista Road, that section all the way out to the Ted Hunt line, from the north end of Laguna Vista Club down to Old Port Road. That is part of our district for taxing purposes, but because of a settlement with East Rio Hondo, we transfer those customers to East Rio Hondo from water supply. But,
We collect the taxes and they have the customers?
yes.
Wow.
And then as far as the status south of Laguna Heights, the last thing I've heard is and which applies to the animal shelter property as well, is it's getting routed for signatures as far as the 180.
You want to see this way? Alex, you want to see this?
It's a big button.
If you make that change to the Bowser and bring it to the next meeting, we could all sign it then.
Okay, that'll work.
Change
So
the
it's
name.
BOW? Yeah, I can look it up and get it.
BOW.
There's no R, correct?
I don't think that, there will have to be amendment on things. If it comes next week.
You want to make it a formal action item where we approve the boundary map?
I'm gonna be at the next meeting.
Oh, yes.
That's what it is.
New members.
We'll bring it,
Okay,
Hopefully,
action
yeah.
items for next week.
all right. And then I guess,
Hopefully only one.
With the corrections.
we'll have election results and, names will be current.
Thank you.
Excuse me? Yes.
So I guess the last item on,
At the center.
y'all ready? The last item on the engineer's report is the RFQ for engineering services for the wastewater loan. And we have to have the engineer under contract before we can close on the loan. So we went ahead and advertised this past weekend and have proposals due November 20th. So we've already gotten response from 8 firms that are going to be submitting, so it's generated a lot of interest.
I read through your RFQ, and I don't know where it is this moment, but, it was pretty detailed, in the sense, I'm thinking I'm right on the sludge holding tanks.
Okay.
You had in there, sludge holding tanks, that's in this RFQ?
Yeah, it's the construction phase services for sludge holding tank and then design for lift stations.
I know I made notes, but what jumped out at me, you were talking about sludge holding tanks on piers or pilings,
Okay.
and, my question to that is, in what we experienced, yeah, that's on page 2. For example, supported on piers. And as I recall, on the wastewater treatment plant down here that we spent a whole bunch of money for, and we've spent a whole bunch of money on overrun on piers. And then the contractor went out there and says, man, why are y'all doing this instead of just a slab?
No, what happened is during construction, those piers were blown
No, I
out.
understand
Yeah.
that. Even before that, you know, there was a question of were piers needed or not?
Oh,
And my question here is, instead of taking and telling the engineer how to design it, let the engineer tell us how it should be designed.
all right.
And it'd be a sludge holding tank, you know, would it be on, can it just be on grade, or is it got to, with slab, or does it have to be supported with piers or not?
No, it's got, I mean, for the load, it's got to be supported with piers. And the difference from this plan set, because the plan set's already final, I mean, it was under Corollo's existing contract. And so they have the depth of the piers at
And
the
they've asked
80
us up,
feet versus 64.
And what?
80-foot depth, that's the depth of the
You're
piers. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then on a 24-inch slab.
I mean, we can put value engineering on the structural, because we were, I don't, you know, if you want
My
to.
point is, why are we telling the engineers what to do? You're going by some other engineer's work that, you know, in this case, possibly was over-engineered at great expense. And then you're transferring that over to soliciting for another engineers.
Well, at this stage, we can have it's going to be an engineer who's going to take on a responsible charge of the project. And if they see a revision warranted for pier design, that effect,
But that's not the point he's
Yeah.
trying to make.
okay.
If the thing could, I can't even fathom that depth of a pier driving for a 24-inch slab for what you're going to build. But you're telling him, and it's giving, you know, those damn things are expensive, so, you know, you might say, what's your opinion? Do we need the piers? Do we need, you know, can we get by with a 10-foot?
And I think that's fantastic, we should do it. But I mean, as far as, you know, we got a award, and then as we're negotiating, you know, contract, I mean, those can be part of the scope that we
Again, we're
take care
taking
of.
the work of somebody that, in general, we're not satisfied with.
Right.
And I think it's a general agreement that there was money spent that shouldn't have been spent, and we're transferring that over to somebody else, and they're going to award a new bid, who's going to be paid on the work that we do. So, yeah, they're going to say, well, yeah, I think we need 100-foot piers.
Oh.
You know, okay, so it's
I would
kind of
love
a
to see them,
catch-22.
yeah, produced, yeah.
It's like, where the hell are they going to go?
Oh, as far as the pier,
The tanks.
the
I mean,
structural? Oh, like as far as the settlement?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And on a
It's-
24-inch,
Sink down 6 inches.
yeah, good for it.
It's just getting to that firm clay
My
layer.
whole point
so-
was, and thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying, was that, you know, that's fine what we're doing here, but if you're given too much specifics of what you want, rather than them saying, you know, saying we need sludge holding tanks to this capacity, and you provide that to us, and let us consider it then, instead of saying, this is how you're going to engineer it, and to, you know, including piers, we're walking down the same path we've already been down.
Okay. I'm more than happy to have a structural revision, but, you know, it's got to get done through
If
structure.
you think that it can be done, you've already
Yeah.
submitted this, and you say you've got good interest, that's the good news.
Yeah.
But somewhere in there, somebody's got to come back and say, whoa, folks,
Yeah.
let's find a more practical way of doing it. We want to do it to where we're going to get our money's worth, but we sure don't want to be overspending for something that's necessary for this project. Please give us your expertise.
Right.
And let us know if this is necessary expenditure or not.
Yep, and then I would say that level of like value engineering, I think we did that at Water Plant 2 when we sort of came on board and we kind of changed gears a little bit, and I think that was pretty effective with getting the cost down on our MF facility.
But you can specify
Yeah.
it as an addendum to the pre-bid meeting, when you have that pre-bid meeting, bring it up, let them know.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that's
can do.
you're bringing in what I'm going to, in my opinion, a bad engineer's
Yeah.
work and transferring it to a potential new engineer, and I don't want to take and taint.
Right, well, we gotta, I mean, if we're gonna have that leeway to do the value engineering, to, you know, identify things like that and make it a lot more efficient, I mean, I think that's very appropriate.
Just tell them what you need and let them
Yep.
come up with what they, engineering-wise, and then you can do the assessment if that's practical or not. I remember going up there with Garvin, and he's looking at those plans and saying, whoa.
Yeah, it's a sludge holding tank, it's not a 6-story condominium.
Thank you. So this is already out, you're in the process, this is just your report, letting us know
Yeah.
what you're doing and how you're proceeding.
Yeah, and then as far as any changes, that warrant need to get across the board, I'll issue addendums. Like I've had an addendum 1, which is just some language for the disadvantaged business enterprise, and then more backup about this engineering feasibility report.
That's my only comment, is to be careful when you're specifying that you're not over-specifying, and let the engineers come to us and tell us what we need to accomplish what we want to do. That's simple.
That's fair.
We good? Thank you, Charles.
Okay, hold on.
Moving to item 8, consider and discuss for possible approval a resolution adopting the investment policy for fiscal year 2018 through 2019, the Laguna Monterey Water District Resolution Number 166-10-18.
Gentlemen, this is part of our compliance with the Public Funds Investment Act, and for our compliance with our investment policy, we have to annually adopt this policy. At this time, there's no changes that are necessary, and staff recommends approval by resolution.
Eddie, did you do any of these when you were over on the island?
We had an investment policy, yes. I don't write them, or we don't write them.
Are they you don't, who wrote them,
Yes, the investment
Financial
advisor.
And that's who did ours.
Correct,
And it's
yes.
the same as last
Yes.
year, this year.
move we approve?
Second.
Motion for approval by Mr. Houston, seconded by D. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are, none opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9, thank you, Eddie. 9, discuss and approve a resolution authorizing the issuance of Laguna Monterey Water District Water Work and Sewer System Revenue Notes, Series 2018, in the approximate amount of $2,940,000, awarding the sale of the notes, authorizing other matters related to the issuance of the notes, and providing for an immediate effective date, resolution number 167-10-18.
Following the investment, the financial plan that we adopted at the last meeting, we decided to move forward with a private placement of bank notes, and I'm going to turn it over to Jorge Garza from Estrada and Hinojosa, who's from our financial advisor.
Clarifying, the board took action to move forward with private.
Private
placement.
bank
Right.
notes to
Right.
fund our
Just
metering
point
system.
of clarification, it was board action, not staff.
Yes, that's correct, that's correct.
Salazar. My name is Jorge Garza, with Estrada Hinojosa and Company. Noe Hinojosa sends his regards. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you very much for having us here today. As Mr. Salazar said, bids were received this morning prior to 11 a.m. 5 bids were received. The first, literally, they came in this order. It's funny, they came in alphabetical order, just on the timing. Amagi Bank submitted its proposal. BB&T, that's Bank and Trust. Chase submitted 3 alternatives in their bid. Regions Bank and the Independent Bank submitted the 5th bid. As you can see, going from left to right, the bid requests were to provide us an interest rate, the total interest cost, any expenses out of pocket that we would be responsible for from the bank. Most of those are legal review, and the optional redemption, or the ability to call or prepay the notes in advance of their maturity. The highlighted is what I'll come back and talk to you is the recommendation, but I'll run from left to right. Amagi Bank submitted an interest rate of 3.25. Total interest cost, we tabulated $475,000. No out-of-pocket cost to cover, and they provided an optional redemption that says that the bonds may be repaid without a premium or penalty anytime at their stated value or at par. and any accrued interest that's owed to that date. That was followed by BB&T, 354, total transfer translates into 530,000, 3,000 of out-of-pockets. Their optional redemption is optional redemption in 2023, beginning in 2023. So we have from the date the notes are issued, this in November through March 1 of 2023, we cannot prepay those bonds, or and any time after that they will be payable at par, or their stated amount. Chase submitted 3 alternatives. The first one is at a 3.047 interest rate. Total cost would be $445,000 approximately, $2,000 out of pocket. At that rate, the district may not prepay that note, those notes, for that stated interest rate. So they gave us no ability to redeem them in advance of maturity. They also submitted 2 alternatives that do have optional redemptions. One at 3.123, total cost is $456,500, $2,000 of out-of-pockets, and the earliest date for that interest rate or that alternative is a redemption in 2024. And so once we get to March 1, 2024, we can prepay them without penalty. They submitted an alternative of 3.215, which translates into $469,959 in total interest cost, out of pockets $2,000, and the redemption ability, or your option to redeem them, would begin after 3/1/2022. Regions Bank submitted a rate of 3.463, a total cost of $506,000, out of pockets of $3,500, and the optional redemption beginning 2024. These notes, by the way, have 10 years of scheduled repayments, the final being 2028, so it's basically 5 years to 2024. TIB submitted a rate of 3.89, which translates to $569,000, and they are also callable, or you can redeem them at any time without a penalty or premium. So you received what we believe are, 5 bids, 6 with the alternates that are all qualified. In other words, they met the requirements of the bid requirements that we submitted. We are suggesting, and we met with staff, and collectively the staff recommendation that we concur with is that the Amity Bank, the 3.25 bid, be accepted because they give you the ability at that rate to prepay those notes at any time. We like that because as you accumulate extra cash right now to make an investment in a bank account, if you were to keep money in your bank accounts, cannot earn what you could repay or take out of the system and buy back those notes ahead of time. Also, if we ever have a crisis and we needed to restructure the debt for whatever critical need of the district, this gives you the ability to do that with a large portion of your revenue bonds notes that you have outstanding. While the lowest, I'm sorry.
But I might add, they're also callable by the bank at any time.
No, sir, they're not.
Well, you said callable any time.
I'm sorry, we can call them.
Then redeemable and callable, you're using...
Is the same thing. We can call them, in other words. We will use the optional redemption to bring those notes back and pay them off at any time.
So you think that warrants the $30,000 additional expense over Chase number one?
Over Chase number one, it's not so much that the additional cost, it's the no ability to prepay or redeem locks you into that principal and interest for the entire 10 years, and you have no ability to refinance them, to do...
But the likelihood of you doing that is probably not.
So then in Chase 2, is that the same thing, where there's an optional redemption
That's in 2024,
in 2024,
yes,
5 years?
5 years.
So I'm still, like Mr. Houston, I'm still looking at the difference between the two. Actually,
And I understand the point. It's a lowest cost. However, the ability to do anything with those into the future is gone. The flexibility to be able to repay those bonds or restructure them is usually a very valuable feature. You already have bonds that are, revenue bonds that are callable in 2025 and 2026 that are outstanding. We would add this one into, some structure like that, or make it, take the option.
I have a question on the
Yes,
two
sir.
sheets here. The sheet number 1 has Amegy Bank at 3.250%.
Yes.
And then sheet number 2, I see in red 3.251.
It picks up it picks up some of the cost of issuance in that calculation.
So it's not in the expense column over here,
Yes, but
if that's the case.
when we run a series of...
It's like closing costs.
Well, no,
fine.
it's just, it's the way the math plays itself out. I'll give you an example. Okay, so
Total cost, total interest cost, that's the TIC, and that's why it's a little bit.
Total TIC, but we don't have a TIC on the others. It's not necessary in this case. You're basing your recommendation on the fact that we can pay this off, prepay this off at any time, as opposed to others that might be a little cheaper in the long run, but we're on the hook for 5 years or 10 years or the full term of the loan, which can translate into a lot more interest paid. And that's your reason for your recommendation.
Correct. To have that additional flexibility, so that if we were ever in a crisis and we needed to free up some cash, we would have the ability, to refinance and.
Or to pay it off early.
Or to pay it off
And that's been our interest all along, was to retire this from some of the savings that we're going to get from the meter system.
Well, one of our concerns is that something tragically happens, a big hurricane comes by, or the bridge collapses again, things that are unseen in the future. We have that flexibility.
Yeah, but you also
Yeah,
have.
but that's not going to want to make you pay it off. That's
No,
going to
but we
make
can
you want to
hold
save your
off.
cash.
We can hold
But
off.
if you
and
had an
pay-
extra 100,000, you can apply it to this.
Also,
We
yes.
got 1 year we pay with it, 1 year prepay.
Yeah.
That's mandatory.
When I was
Yeah.
on the city council of the island and we built the convention center, I forgot what the interest rate was, but several years into it, there was like a 2-point spread that we could have realized when we did the refinancing, and we refinanced it and saved some money. But when you're talking about an interest rate of 3.25%, I can't even fathom in the future that you would ever see a spread so substantially less than that would warrant our refinancing due to lower interest costs.
I concur. I don't think you're going to do it for savings. I believe you would do it for need, flexibility, or to prepay from surplus cash. If you have surplus cash, you can put it right to work here and earn you're basically earning 3.25 right there just by paying it off.
If I recall, when Mr. Noe, the gentleman, when he was here, he mentioned the possibility that that refinancing is going to have some obstacles to it coming in.
And cost.
And cost.
And so it doesn't, I agree, I don't think we will refinance anything going forward. It doesn't look very
Said that one went to zero
doable.
too.
But at the same time, I mean, what are the possibilities we're gonna pay this note off versus another note that's twice as big? And that's something that, because in this particular instance, we're looking forward to maybe some cost savings. On other projects, there's no cost savings, we're just out money on some of the other projects we have, so I don't think that we would take advantage of either of those options of either paying it off early or even contributing extra money.
But
We
it's-
have other projects that
But
are
right now, we
getting more
want,
interest.
right now, we want to just make the best decision we can that
Right.
gives the district the most flexibility in either case to take and save the most. And so, in my mind, that's what I'm thinking of, because I'm seeing that, what is it? Amergy's a little more than the other boys, but still, in the long run, it gives us, more ins and outs.
Robert?
Yes, sir. And I do apologize for this, to Jorge, because we did discuss it, but my question is, can we pay part of it ahead of time? Instead of paying the whole note?
Yes, no, if you look at the second page, you'll see in the maturity schedule, it's really in these first four columns. It's under the winning, under here, you'll see the principal, 200,000, 255 to 65, it runs on down. If if you had 315,000 or any portion of that, you could start from the very back, or, where you're saving the most.
And we could save that interest.
Right.
Which could conceivably be more than what we would save between the 3.25 and the 3.04.
I like that, the fact that we can partially repay
Yeah.
to get the balance down. It's 30,000, it's 30,000, not a whole lot of money, but it is when you take into effect that we're trying to work something out with the employees and step increases, every dollar we can save is a dollar we can use other places. So I'm more inclined to go with the Chase one and save that $30,000.
But we don't get to prepay.
Like they said, you may not have to get to prepay all of it, but you could prepay 95% of it if you ever wanted to.
And save
But
another-
save the interest.
Phase one, you can't do it.
That's
that
with
would
the
be-
with the Amegy, which is callable at any time. you do
But he
have
just
to-
said you could partially pay.
Yeah, well,
Speaking of Amegy.
Oh, you were talking about Amegy, you
Yes,
weren't
you're
talking
talking
about
about-
Chase.
Yes.
Can you partially pay Chase?
No, if you read the line, it says clearly, not,
I know
no
what's-
optional redemptions. So you do not have, the option, who has the option? The district has the option? What they're saying is, we're not going to give you an option. You pay the exact schedule on
Terms.
time.
Terms.
And if you want to pay it off, you have to pay off all of the interest.
Yeah.
Is this resolution pursuant to staff's recommendation with Amegy?
Correct. Yes.
I move to approve
There's been a motion made by D. Wells for approval
of the resolution.
for the resolution of Amergy.
I don't know the number, there's no number associated with it, that would come later.
As far as what, as far as
Essentially,
savings or?
no,
Approving,
Interest rate.
approving the loan carrier.
I'm looking at the resolution, a number at the top of the resolution is blank, which would be filled in. Our agenda item is for
It was-
discussion and approval.
It was updated.
Okay.
Once we got the final.
Okay, so
It's that one.
So it'd be resolution number 167-10-18, and that is the one for taking Amergy's proposal. Except that, that's my motion.
Motion made by D. Wells. Motion made by D. Wells. Is there a second?
Continue discussion.
All those for discussion?
My motion dies for
Yes.
a lack of a second, so now we can continue with discussion.
Yes. On to discussion?
Okay, I'll just say something. the worst nightmare of my life was doing business with Energy Bank. If I wouldn't vote for them, I'd kill myself. So you can take it from there.
About time you spoke
I
up.
can tell you a story that you wouldn't, I don't think they have ever told the truth in their life.
No, well,
And
that's,
it's to the tune of $13 million.
that's not what
we
we're
can't,
doing.
yeah, we can't
Okay, I'm just
disclose.
saying, I wouldn't
Yes,
do
we can't
business with
disclose or discuss any of that.
I wouldn't do
Yes.
business with them, and I wish they were, one of them was sitting here right now, because I'd tell him to his face.
Motion dies for lack of a second, so I guess we have no action item.
Well, let's continue some discussion. I mean,
Well, does somebody else want to make a motion? Is any discussion? Does anybody else have more questions about the presentation and the proposals that we have here for the interest rates and the callable and the redemption?
My concern is, are we gonna move forward and at least plan to pay additional monies or refinance, or is that the action we're gonna take? Because if that's the action we're gonna take, then I understand your motion.
That was the action discussed, and that was the intent, as I understood, that if we were able to take
But as a board, I know
save
you want to do it,
100,
but as a board, are we gonna do that? Are we all gonna do that? Because otherwise, it.
well, this is longer than all of us,
yeah.
so you can't even,
But no,
do it that-
but we can put.
but it
we can
leaves,
put
but
things
it
in action
leaves
to do that.
it leaves the board, whoever's sitting here, in the position to take and make a prepayment or not, and it'll continue on. At the end of the day, it's costing $30,000 more to start it up.
At the end of this day, the project is further delayed, project is not moving on,
That's why we
funded or
we
financed,
told them last
or
night to
moving
bring this
forward,
to, last meeting, to bring this to us, and let's figure out a way that we can finance the meters and we can get that project going.
Let me ask you this, Eddie. I sympathize with what Doyle has said, because we have said in the past that we had some extra money, we'd like to pay down some debts. I'm gonna give you, if someone walked in to you tomorrow and gave you a $100 check, I want you to apply this to debt, is there other debt that you could apply the $100,000 to? Or is this the only one?
This would be my first one.
No, I didn't ask you this one, is there any other one? If you had money in the bank to apply.
Are there other callable notes?
There are callable notes in 2025 would be the first one.
First one.
All right, so there is the opportunity, if we had some money, to pay on notes that are due in 2025.
Yes.
and not even if notes, just actual projects,
Yeah.
current projects moving today.
Not-
All you're doing is also
Until
being offered the flexibility to decide if revenues increase as possibly projected, we can change these things and you can prepay, or you can just continue on to pay for projects on demand as we move along, or the board goes along. All it does is just keep one window open for opportunity and options to put that money through.
Yes.
What do you think?
On current outstanding
opinion
debt,
is-
Wait, wait.
on current outstanding, we would not have any option to prepay until 2025 on revenue.
For the next 5 years, the board has the
7.
opportunity, 19 through 24.
6 years.
And in 25, they may want to apply it to projects Z.
Yeah.
But right now, if that opportunity came, there could be some prepayment of $1,
Yes.
$100 or whatever.
If our revenue from the accuracy of the new metering system produces additional revenue just purely on the accuracy of the system, well, we could certainly exceed our revenue projections, and that might be a good place
And we can apply it
to
to-
apply.
Well,
the
that
money.
was many comments over the last year and a half we've been dealing with this, was that was a sales pitch. And also, there was savings, not just from the accuracy of the meter reading, but also reduced in labor costs and reduced call-outs and all that expense that's associated with our current meter system. And the new meter system should alleviate that, reduce all of our costs, and we said, well, great, it'd be nice to be able to take and apply that
Can we,
Yes,
savings
my
to
My
paying
revenue
this thing off.
projections for next year were conservative in that regard. I mean, I didn't count on having a
And
whole
is
lot
there-
of extra revenue based on accuracy.
is there a way to capture, you think, those, I mean, do we have a way that we can capture that, those savings? I mean, other than just looking.
Through proper management from staff and board, because we're talking about, not calling anybody out, but, there's savings that should be just from we're not sending out for repairs. And we shouldn't have all the meter reading expense and all those things associated. We have those numbers, they can take and tell us what they are later of what those potential savings are, if they are there. Guys, we're not leaving here tonight unless y'all pick a number. I'll support whatever you pick,
Scott, what do you
but
think?
we can't let this thing go on any longer.
No, I agree.
Because otherwise you killed you're delaying these projects for who knows how long. I mean, the ability to prepay is a great option to have, and it's a great option to keep open. Doesn't mean you're gonna prepay it off, but it is an option. Do you wanna finance these bonds for 5 years, or do you wanna have the ability to pay them down?
It isn't worth $30,000.
Is it worth 30,000? That's exactly right. Borrowing money comes with strings, and everyone has some sort of
This
string
is
for
saving
borrowing
money.
money.
I have faith in the ability to save money to
Yes.
take and be able to take and save that within the first few years, more than save that $30,000 that we're sitting here discussing now.
We'll use it on the new filtration system at water plant number one.
Which
would be-
I make a motion to go with Chase 1.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. Houston for resolution, actually, that changes the
Discussion.
resolution number.
Discussion.
Three options.
You can use
There's
this,
three options.
I don't know what to do with the resolution number.
No, it can.
White it
You can
out.
say the same. So then, what we want to do is read into the minutes that what you're approving is, let me give you the.
No, we
There's
have,
three options on Chase.
no, we have a
A
motion
motion and a second.
and a second for Chase 1. Now we're going to have discussion on that, and I think we're crazy to do that when we have no optional redemption. We can't get a penny back from these guys. We're on the hook for
5 years.
20 years, no, forever. The whole, the term of the contract.
It's only 10 years.
No, only 10 years.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if we have some extra money, we got notes that
No,
we can
you
do it
can't.
on the other note.
Not for 5, 6,
No,
5
sir.
years.
Director Houston,
Yeah.
the other outstanding bonds, the earliest you can pay them off is 2025 and 2026. So if you had $100, you have to hold on to it till 2025 to be able.
All you can do is just pay interest and
All you
principal.
do, you continue to pay interest, you're holding the 100 here in the
Put it in
bank.
your investment account, so you arbitrage the savings between what you're gonna get and what you're paying.
If I remember correctly, it's $1 million in 2025 and there's $4 million in 2026, or it's vice versa, or $3 million in 2026, or it might be vice versa. $3 million in 2025 and $1 million.
But you have to pay off the whole amount of the note within, if you pay it off 5 years, you got to pay off 10 years of note
That's the callable amount on the current outstanding.
on Chase 1,
I was referring to his comment about,
the other notes.
yes, outstanding debt, yes.
Thank you.
I hope we generate some extra revenues and we can use that on the microfiltration system on water plant 1,
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of places to spend it, but
that we need it.
And delaying, I think.
No, I don't want to delay.
any other discussion?
Our financial advisor is providing you, in my opinion, your best option, and they have evaluated this, and I have to agree, but that's my personal opinion. Mr. Wells may not like the selection, but it is a bound contract of loaning money and repayment pattern.
You'll be dealing with them, I won't.
What kind of, I know this is hard to forecast, but, to me, it sounds like we're gonna be looking at higher interest rates in the very near future.
Yes, especially with a few market crashes like today.
All week, last week.
And one of the things that we did talk to Noel, and the guy, Noel is our legal counsel. He also advised, that he was thinking that was a better choice than the other ones. Going with, what is it? Remedy?
Imaging.
Yeah, imaging. For the reason that, that does give you that option to pay whatever the board decides at whatever time, you will be able to pay it quicker from the last year back forward this way. But the thing is, as I was mentioning, if you do have an emergency that happens, you have the option to work with it. You can pay later. You know, it's not that the option is going to help you to pay it quicker, but you can pay it slower, you know, where you need the revenues that are not coming in. Give you an example. The collapsed bridge, when it happened, we had a loss of revenue from the island for that reason that there was no tourism, and we lost some revenue there. So we lost the option to pay some of those notes quicker or later. You know, it's either quicker or later that you can pay them off. So the other example is Hurricane Dolly. We had a lot of the high-paying condominiums in the island that were broken and didn't get restored until 8 months later, maybe 2 years later. The revenue didn't come in also. We had that economy that went down in 2009, and we had issues with that and paying our debt. So,
But see, Carlos, all these things should be addressed by our 6 months that we have in our reserve accounts. You make good points, but I mean, I
And it
think
is.
we've already
It is,
made
we do
those-
have secure reserve accounts.
Yeah, we've made those
We
provisions.
do have secure currently,
I know, that's what I'm saying, we haven't.
but you can never have enough.
Well, I mean,
That
according to,
money, that lost revenue is gone forever, regardless if you have enough to carry you over or not.
and
I
that's
said
my
I-
understanding of what they explained to me, and I said, well, that option looks good. You know,
I
and-
said I would support
They don't
whatever you
hire,
guys
but
said, but I
do you have
have
that
trouble
option?
supporting this one.
yeah.
But then there's another option on the Chase that
On
you
the
all
Chase
were talking
3?
about. There's 2 more options,
On the
not just
Chase
one.
3,
Yeah, the one that has year 2022.
2022.
Yeah, but
You can-
that's only like 6,000, that's, $5,000 of interest savings, that's not a,
But it's a closer
Chance to-
timeframe. It's only 3 years away.
yeah, I mean, we're not going to pay it off in 3 years.
And again, it's what the board wants. I mean, you have the opportunity to do what's best for the district.
Well, we definitely have to move forward tonight.
I'll
Yes.
call the motion.
There's been a motion made for,
We have a motion and a second. I'm calling a motion, which means I'm calling the vote.
well, I'm all, okay. Motion made by Mr. Houston, seconded by Mr. Avalos for, was,
There's 3 options in there.
yes, for which option?
We have an
Chase.
option right now, unless they amend it, the motion is for option 1, Chase.
Chase 1, yeah.
Chase 1. If y'all want to amend it, do it now, because I'm calling the vote.
Well, that's the motion I made for Chase 1.
If you want to leave,
I would consider amending my motion.
your
Chase
second.
3.
Your second.
Well, I don't think that's worth the savings, quite honestly.
It just gets us there sooner, that's all.
But
If we want to pay off any.
But for $5,000 of savings, you might as well leave it with Amegy.
We have discussion, we have comment being made.
Yeah, I don't know if we can take the comment though, because we're not open to the floor, but.
Not while we have, while we have a motion, procedurally, we can't do that.
Okay, we currently have a motion and a second.
A second.
Alex,
And
did you make?
I called it.
All right,
You leaving the motion the same, Chase 1?
yes.
Second, still staying with Chase 1?
I will reconsider my motion to go with Chase 3. And I will-
You can't, you don't have a motion, you have a second, you can't change it. You have a second, his motion stands as, Chase
I
1.
will retract my motion. my
You
second.
retract your second.
All right.
We're making progress, folks.
Okay,
Slowly.
I-
Don't let me rain
Can
on your
you,
parade.
can you
guys.
elaborate a little bit on the Chase 3 option?
Well, wait, before he does that, you've withdrawn your seconds, but I've still made a motion, so there's still an opportunity for that motion to be seconded.
Okay.
Correct.
yes. Is there a second? There is not a second at this time, okay?
And that motion dies.
Motion dies. We're back to open.
Discussion.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the Chase 3 option?
The Chase 3 option is at an interest rate of 3.215, and the earliest that any of that of those notes can be prepaid is March 1 of 2022. After March 1 of 2022, any extra cash you have can be used to prepay.
Well, it's only 2
Yeah.
years, it's not worth it.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
it's
say.
3 years before you have full flexibility as to what you do with that. You can continue to pay it through its final maturity, or
Part or whole?
in whole or in part, or you could refinance it, or, the thing about the Chase one is that it cannot even be refinanced.
You're locked.
You're locked, which is a very good interest rate, but that is no flexibility. And the way Amegy came about as being the recommendation, it's full flexibility at an interest rate that, is
Attractive
very
interest rate.
reasonable.
I don't think a $5,000 savings is worth it.
It's
My
not.
motion failed. I'll make a new motion to go with Amegy. Let's move this thing along.
Motion made by Mr. Houston for selection of Amegy Bank. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by D. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Are there any opposed?
Opposed.
For the record, Mr. R. Wells is opposed. I'm in favor. Motion does carry. Thank you. What a
Thank you, sir.
discussion that was. Thank you. Moving forward on to, moving on to item
I'll show you something.
10, is that correct? Consider and discuss for possible approval of differential pay for employees on shift work. Mr. Gomez?
Can y'all reach behind you and cut that AC off?
Yeah, it's cold. Daisy's hot.
Well, we're talking about temperature. Thank you.
Gentlemen, item 10 is for consideration of differential pay for some employees that work on a shift work or graveyard. And again, as the memo states, this only affects the employees that work in the water department. And when I was approached by this and asked what I thought about it, I agreed with it. I thought that there's a lot of places, almost everybody pays some kind of differential pay for people that work at night.
Graveyard shift.
And graveyard. It's a shift that not very many people want, and it's just a motivation. It's not a whole lot of pay, as you can see, $50 or $25 a week. So I'm submitting it to you for your approval. Questions?
I understand the intent here.
Yes, sir.
A couple of things jumped out at me was, well, thank you for your input, is we're asking people to do something that is not really that desirable in its perception. If we have a security issue, then that security issue should be addressed separately, period. Let me finish, and then bring it on. And so if we have a security issue, let's address it and fix that. Then if we have a situation where somebody's not really wanting to do their job because it's, kind of messes up their sleep disorder, a lot of that becomes a scheduling problem. And maybe we need the managers to take more of a graveyard shift to change it over. I don't disagree with this, but I have some concern that we're reaching out just to 2 employees when I would like to take and help all the employees. I think, as an example, you stuck in your office with no windows could be a hardship.
It is.
And things like that. So these can come up that, we need to take and address as a whole as work environment, security, and whatever else may come back. I'm as much as interested, and we may be addressing some of the other agendas coming up, but how we can make, the work more rewardable to all of the staff.
Yes, sir.
And not necessarily be perceived that we're just rewarding 2 because they don't like to work a graveyard shift.
I'm sorry, let me make it, or clarify this. It's not just 2 employees, there are 8 employees that rotate on this. It's 2 employees at a time.
2 shifts.
2 shifts that we're looking at compensating or motivating the employees.
So
But
everybody,
there is a-
everybody in that department takes their turn at nighttime
Yes, sir.
graveyard shift.
Pretty much, as long as they have at least a C license or above.
Sir? If I
Yes.
can add-
Come on up, please.
Hello, Noe Cantillo, the water plant manager. I just want to add that it's not necessarily the security problem is what we're considering here is that, nights, graveyard shift, not only does it take away, or are you working at night and it's not wanted by most employees, but we're the only ones that do it in District 1. And 2, it takes away from time from our families. We not only work just the nights and the weekends, but we're also included in holidays. We don't rest 24/7, it's continuous all year round. And just to add to the fact that you want to help all employees, that's great, but this is kind of different, right? So even if you help all employees, we help everybody, right, including us, but there's still a difference between working 8 to 5 and maybe possibly the weekends, opposed to 3 to 11 and 11 to 7, right? You work all night, sleep during the day, time away from your family, etc.
I'm
So there's
speaking,
a difference between the district as a whole as to some of these guys that work night shift.
In
And
it-
it's not necessarily a problem with the schedule, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, because, I do work nights when I have to. We work 24-hour shifts, and
talking
we've
about
done it
Joel.
in the past.
Sorry.
It's just one of those things, But just understand the difference between helping everybody and then helping the guys that work at night.
So you have an issue with, staff, and it's a part of the job that doesn't really appeal to everybody, and I get this, it takes away from family, it's just the least desirable, if you will. But at the same time, when I'm speaking, that we'd like to, my goal would be to bring up everybody to make it the most rewarding job in all levels, not just pay, but also everything about the job itself that makes it most desirable, so they're happy to go to work, no matter if it's at a graveyard shift or 8 in the morning.
Yes, and if I may add just a personal touch, I have a 24-hour business that the job duties and descriptions are the same from all of the staff members, but I have to pay the graveyard shift more as an incentive to work, come to work, stay at work, and it takes a specialty person to work that shift because of the rotation or the time or things they do. I can't just pay one person X number of dollars, it's X and Y, and that's the encouragement that I have to pay a graveyard shift guy to work and motivate and get that job, because otherwise, they all want to work 8 to 5. And no one wants to sign up for the Y shift, and you have to give, unfortunately, it's the same exact job, but the guy that works the Y shift, which is the graveyard shift, makes more money for doing the same work as the guy that works the 8 to 5 shift.
If I may also make an analogy here, we have the employees that are required to get a license, and to motivate them to get this license, we also compensate them for if they have a B and A license. And it's just a motivational stipend, nothing else.
So we're talking about $2,500 for not just 2 individuals, but for the 2 shifts shared by 8 individuals.
No, it's $50 and bi-weekly, okay, and
$2,600 a year.
Yeah.
yes.
You're not asking for any type of budget amendment or anything, are you?
No,
You
sir.
say in the last sentence, we feel the department would be able to absorb this cost.
That's right.
So
I
you're
have-
not asking for a budget,
No.
then why are we even discussing it? You
Well,
got X
I
number,
just
you got
wanted
X
to make
number of
sure
dollars
that
in
the-
your department to spend on staffing.
Well, wouldn't it be a policy, part of the personnel policy of what each position is paid, in this case, the shifts and everything?
Yes.
So I'm not disagreeing with all of that. My comment still stands. I'd like to bring all of the positions up into, I like this job, compensation. I move to approve this.
Second.
Motion for approval made by Arwell, seconded by Dewells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Noe, and thank you, Joel. Moving to item number 11, consider and discuss for possible approval of a one-time unfunded payment to employees who have reached step 13 on the pay grade scale.
Again, gentlemen, this is concerning, at this point, 3 employees that have reached the last step in pay scale. A couple of them have reached this pay scale 3 years ago, and it's been 2 years since they've been compensated. And another employee has reached this 2 years ago, and it's been a year since he's been compensated. Everybody gets a step increase on their evaluation, as long as you pass your evaluation.
In this department or?
Everybody.
All the employees?
All employees. And they have passed their evaluation, but they have not been compensated. My understanding is that since we don't get a COLA, the step increase is in lieu of a COLA, at least what we've been told in the past.
I thought you got a
It's
2.5
nice.
this year.
I'm sorry?
Yes, for the evaluations, when they pass their evaluations, they get a.
But didn't we give a 2.5% COLA this year?
No,
No.
not a COLA.
They haven't received their
What was
COLA
it, just a
in,
2.5% across the board?
No,
On evaluation
strictly step.
status,
7
when they
years.
pass their evaluations
Okay,
annually.
all right.
But this is gonna come up more often, this situation, as we max out on the step, and when we adopted this in another subject, but we're going to have to reevaluate this in the near future, because this is going to come up more frequently as the steps are maxed out in the tenure of the staff.
I would
that is
suggest that
correct.
we take on the responsibility of looking into, I want to know why we don't pay the COLA. I mean, I understand it might be a question of money, but I think that, we need to look at what we're paying, and we need to do, I think, a comprehensive analysis of if we're paying the right wages, because I understand, like in the one we just approved, we've had some people leave from there, and I don't know if it's for that reason, because of the night shift or whatever, but
it
I
is.
I would like to know how we are paying compared to other entities or other areas, and just do a thorough analysis of all our employees and find out if we're on par, with what other people pay. I think we deserve to do that, and I personally would favor doing a COLA. I think we should do that instead of just.
I think that would be great, Mr. Aulas. We really welcome that, but to address one of your concerns is that we have had some turnover. 2016, 2017, we had 9 individuals. One of them was dismissed, 8 of them resigned, and out of those 8, 7 resigned for
More money.
more pay.
Yeah.
In 2017, 2018, again, we had 9 employees. 1 was dismissed, and again, 8 of them left, and again, it was for better pay.
Can you put together a chart or something, maybe with a couple other districts, and show us comparable pay scales for different steps? What we're paying versus East Rio Hondo or whomever?
Sure, that's something that we've been wanting to do. It takes a little bit of time, and we've been a little bit tied down, so.
I don't
but
like
we
the
can do
idea
that.
of losing 6 employees in a year because of,
We're losing 10% a year, we have 76 employees, and if we're losing 8, that's 10%.
The step system needs to be updated, that's another subject that doesn't pertain to this item, throw that
Well,
out there.
this is a second recommendation that we're
Yes,
proposing.
I know, but we need to deal with this issue, but throw out there, revamp that step, because it is about 8 or 9 years old, or 10 years old
I see that,
probably.
you provided, pretty much.
7 years old.
The pay structure for all our employees, but we're only addressing the concerns of 3 employees here.
At this current time, there's 3 employees, but this coming year, 2018, 2019, or 2018, we have 3 other employees that reach that step.
Or the max step level.
Right.
The max step.
And we're
So
gonna have
as
4
of
next year.
October 2018, we're gonna have
It's
6
going to
employees
become
carried
more
forward.
frequent.
In 2018, 2019, we have 4 employees that are gonna reach that step.
Okay,
So we're gonna wind up
so
with
we can
10
take care of
employees.
3 of them, if we do this now, we can take care of the 3 immediate ones and
Yes, sir.
and recognize them, but follow up with, evaluate and take care of the step system and update
I
that.
really would like to.
And update
More steps, is that how you do it?
There's all
Well,
sorts
just-
of,
We need to know
That's on my
how many
second
short timers we have, how many new people we have, where we are on that level, So, you know, you need to go ahead and address that. This hasn't been updated.
What I'd like to do is weigh out the difference between what we're doing here, what you're bringing forth, and actually paying the toll.
This is a quick fix for a problem, so, and this is a one item. We know it's
I
actually.
move to approve.
No, we had a comment also.
Yeah, for Mr. Wells, I wouldn't say that necessarily just, increasing more steps to the plan is gonna fix it. But one of the things to consider is, like everybody's been saying right now, is that to compare us to other districts.
Yeah.
And according to licenses and jobs and all that, et cetera, just based on the research that we've done in the past ourselves, like my department, one of the guys in particular that left this past year, was getting paid $12 here, he left for a job at $18 an hour. And that's with the same license, same job.
Here in the area?
Yes.
See, and that's what we need to look at. We need to look at where we're at, and.
I
that might
move to
address it.
approve.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Motion for approval by R. Wells, seconded by Mr. Avalos. All those in
D.
favor?
Wells.
D. Wells, excuse me. Motion made by D. Wells, seconded by Mr. Avalos. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. We will finish the rest of these. We'll get to the bottom of this.
That approval was for
The
first
three.
part? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have part 2 and part 3.
Yes.
The part 2 consists of adding 2 additional steps currently to our pay schedule.
I'd like to-
avoid from having to come back next year.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
10 employees.
Let's pass on that until we get that information.
Yeah, let's do it right.
Okay,
Yeah.
Let's do it
that's fine.
Yeah, I
district-wide.
don't, because we might not have to add the steps if we agree to the code.
Or what that new solution is, what that,
Yeah, let's
so
address-
leave that off and we don't have to deal with it
Address
today.
the SEP system as the policy as it is.
Yes,
Okay,
So
that's
let's
fine.
just-
we dealt with this situation and we'll deal with the other,
Then we'll do an internal study
yes.
and we can bring it back to you. Unless you gentlemen want to hire somebody to do
No.
We can do it
it.
internally, that would be
No.
great, because otherwise we're
Let's
looking
work with
at
what we've got first, and
another
let's kick it around
$30,000
and see where it goes.
Okay,
That's right.
sounds good.
I know those guys are gonna be on the computer calling everybody tomorrow, wanting to know what everybody else is making.
Great.
Well, the consultant, I will say, the consultant takes in a lot of other things, too, cost of living and the area. I mean, insurance, there's all sorts of ways you can take this and go. It's, can't just compare, you have to compare apples to apples. I mean, working for Laguna Madre Water District versus working for the city of Austin are two totally different.
But if you're looking at
And filter out.
Laguna Madre Water District, you're looking at Los Redlos,
So,
and some of those within the area, there's not a whole lot.
It's even like rates and treating water and all the above, so, yes, there's more to it than just.
So my motion was just for the first 3.
Okay.
That's what we approved.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to 13, consider and review expenditures for October 1st, and 15th, I'm sorry, 12. Consider and discuss for possible approval of change order number 4 with CSA Construction, Inc. for Port Isabel wastewater treatment modifications.
All right, yeah, the project's, we've already had startup. We're just finishing out electrical instrumentation for final completion, and this is more of a final quantities adjustment. And as a whole, we're looking at a deduct from the current authorized amount of $71,153. And there is a revision from the handout. That item on relocating the SCADA computer to that building, we've actually removed one of the conduits that runs out to the clarifier, so that's going to get scratched out to 0 by revision.
I would ask why that was ever in there. We're coming at the end of the job and, somebody realized, well, gosh, we don't need a separate computer area. Why don't we just put it where we have the other computers? Why didn't that get thought of to begin with?
Well, the computer was in the treatment manager's office, but the operator that's really running the day-to-day shift is in the lab building next door.
My question stands.
Right.
Why wasn't that thought of to begin with? And my other question is why a couple of things, you're going from asphalt to no asphalt. Is that just going to be a caliche parking area or dry area or what?
Well, since the sludge holding tank is coming so quick, there was no sense. I mean, if we put that pavement down.
Okay, so you don't want to take and do that because you don't know if we're going to build that area, so there's no sense.
Well, we'd be tearing it up, when it's brand new with the
Much
sludge holding
caliche you
tank.
putting down, that was hold the sludge holding tank without piers.
Right, that 10 inches, well, yeah, we're at a different location. The drying beds are still in place where the holding tank's going to go.
Okay, then my other question was retaining wall, what's with that? We all of a sudden decided we need a retaining wall?
Well, it was during, when they were doing all the electrical runs at the headworks, there wasn't enough slope to keep that embankment and keep that a good slope coming off the reservoir. And so they had to put a retaining wall in there to...
Well, it's already there.
Correct.
They did the change order without being approved.
Right.
Another did the work, and now you coming to us and say pay for it when we didn't approve it before. Mr. Galvan, were you aware of this?
No, sir. I was aware when he told me this week, because I was asking like, what retaining wall?
The contractor's not going to make and spend the money without somebody saying, do it.
Right.
And this is the exact problem we had with the pier overpour.
Right.
Extension, if you will. Mr. Galvan, we have a problem. Either you have a problem or the board has a problem. And I'm looking you square in the eye and saying, I'm seeing the same problem we had before come up to us again. Change orders being approved without the board's approval.
Or notice.
You can't spend money, particularly this amount, without the board approving it. Period.
I
And a
understand.
change order, and somebody's already spent how much money? Is a retaining wall?
Oh, the retaining wall, it's an increase of $27,970.
Another $27,000 spent without board approval. Mr. Ortiz, did you approve this?
Well, the request is here, so, I mean, it's...
No, did you tell the contractor, go ahead and, for the reasons you justified at the time, go ahead and build the retaining wall?
I mean, it was a field change, I mean, to maintain the integrity of the
You don't
reservoir.
have the authority to do that, sir.
Right.
Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here, but you do not have the authority to do that. And we are not that indisposed.
Right. You
That
are
when you
correct about
realize that, you call up our chairman and say, we got a problem, Houston. It's going to take... Freeman. Well...
But yes, I found out about it as this was delivered.
Yeah, yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah, so I'm not happy with that procedure.
I agree.
I don't have a problem with the reason for it. I have an extreme problem with making expenditures without approval.
And we've been on this highway before.
And there's no sense that we're going down again. We have a problem, Houston. Friedman, we have a problem here. We have staff spending money without authority. That is something that really can come back and affect your career and your position here. You can't do that. I thought we made that clear, crystal clear, on the fiasco with the overpour or extension of the foundation piers. I'm not questioning the reason for doing it, but again, you cannot spend that money without board approval.
Yes, and it has been, for me to push it up this fast has been an argument with our consultant. I mean, this should have been here in August. There's no excuse for it, not really showing up at this point.
In other words, this work was done in August?
More or less. Is that about the time it was poured? More or less, yeah.
So, before that, you were saying, okay, we need to do this. And I don't see where anybody in this board or the general manager,
I wasn't aware.
you weren't aware of it?
Until this week, when I saw that.
Are you in charge as the district engineer, sir?
Yes, I am. But he never mentioned it to me. He never brought it until this
Then you
week.
have a problem.
I do.
You have a problem.
Yes, I do.
And if you're not able to take and oversee your staff, then the board has a problem. I'm being very blunt and very direct. I am not happy with your actions, sir.
Understood.
You have no authority to spend that money, make those decisions on your own.
Hoping to never see this ever happen again.
We said that a few months ago.
I know.
And so I would recommend that the general manager addressed everything that I'm saying here tonight, prove me wrong, or fix it. I'll approve the change order. Make a motion to approve the change order.
Second.
Motion made by D. Wells, seconded by Mr. Houston. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Moving to 13, consider and review expenditures for October 1st through the 15th, 2018.
So we're spending, is this kind of last payout of Corolla on page 2 of 7? We're spending $70,000, 7086. Is that kind of our last amount we're paying Corolla, or
Which one? The expense?
the expense, with just, payment made to Corolla?
Oh, yeah, the remaining contract amount in the authorization is at $61,000.
It was $70,851.67.
That's
No,
electricity.
no,
No,
no.
That's a Cavallo,
that's
it's our energy.
Corolla.
So that's,
Cavallo.
Cavallo.
Cavallo, excuse me.
oh, Caballo,
Thank
sorry,
you.
Caballo.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, I was wondering where that was coming from.
Okay, thank you.
Also,
Any other questions or comments on the
Gone.
expenditures? Does everyone acknowledge them? Okay.
Yes.
Then we're moving on to item number 14. There is no executive session. Is there or is there not, without
Yes.
attorney?
Oh, yes.
We're
Should be one,
Well,
There still is?
because
We have
we
an
need to
agreement to look
discuss
at.
it at least.
The question would be, do we want to go in executive session without legal counsel being present, since legal was so involved with this?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
So we either make a motion to go in executive session or not.
14, executive session permitted by Open Meeting Act, VTCA Government Code Section 551001, ed sequence under sequence 551071, consultation with attorney. Consider and discuss the water supply agreement for SPI Golf Owners Joint Venture, Inc. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
I don't mind going in and talking about it.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Alvarez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by D. Wells. All those in favor?
Aye.
They are. We're in executive session at 7:02 PM with a 5-minute recess. We will resume. Need a motion to come out of executive session at 7:14 PM.
so moved.
Motion made by
Second.
R. Wells, seconded by D. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
Item 15, consider an action on executive session item if necessary. There is no action at this time. Item 16, meeting is adjourned at 7:14 and a half PM.